It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you listen, whenever you're watching. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Or give Sal a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why you should go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Holiday Inn Express, or any Holiday Inn property for that matter. You traveling someplace, you need to stay at a hotel, stay at a Holiday Inn property. Why? Because I can get you a Billy C discount. That's right. All you got to do when you're ready to make a reservation is call toll-free 844-603-0364, 844-603-0364, or if you're like me and you can't remember a phone number, just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Holiday Inn banner. And today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage, The Baddest Men on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now where you're watching or listening to this show. All you got to do is visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. Coming up later in the week, specifically tomorrow, our Blast from the Past features Memphis Pal Moore, Hall of Famer. Alex Perpali and I will be talking about him. Also, Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard will join us. We'll get his thoughts on a lot of stuff, the fights from this past weekend and some fights that are scheduled for this weekend, which brings me to some of the topics we're going to talk about today. Daniel Jacobs, is he the best middleweight out there today? I mean, everybody could make the argument about Triple G or even the cheater, Canelo. But when push comes to shove, is Daniel Jacobs really the best middleweight out there? We'll talk about that. I got some updates in terms of what we talked a little about yesterday with the pardoning of the late, great Hall of Fame former world heavyweight champion and one of the best ever. In my all-time great list, Jack Johnson is clearly in the top 10. We'll talk about that pardoning. We'll talk about the lawsuits that have been going back and forth between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. And speaking about Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, it's my estimation that if the fight is not signed, sealed, and delivered this week, we will not see the fight in 2018. I had long ago predicted that the fight would not happen in 2018, but it looked like I was going to be wrong, and it still looks like I could possibly be wrong if the negotiations can happen and work out well this week. As a matter of fact, it is reported that Eddie Hearn and Team Wilder, specifically Shelley Finkel and Al Heyman, are scheduled to meet this week, Thursday to be specific, to try and hash out a deal. Now, no communication at least that, with my channels, have I seen that Team Wilder has made any kind of comment or counteroffer or anything. Now, that doesn't mean it's not happening, because the way it should happen, quite honestly, is the fact that these guys shouldn't even be communicating through the media. Unfortunately, they do, and I would like to see these guys working towards a contract. I mean, obviously, in a perfect world, that's what we would like, and hopefully, we could see something along those lines taking place, maybe even an announcement as soon as Thursday. So we will see about that. I hope it happens, because if not, it's not going to happen this year, the fight. And the reason is because the 30-day negotiation period for the WBA mandatory fight between Anthony Joshua and Alexander Povetkin ends on May 5th, which is a week from Thursday, I believe. So if Team Joshua and Team Wilder can't come up with a deal that they could submit before the WBA, before the deadline. Remember, the deadline is the deadline, which means that any other potential contracts or deals have to be presented prior to that. And the reason is that it's supposed to, and I say it, meaning the fight between Povetkin, who's the mandatory WBA challenger, for Anthony Joshua, that the free negotiation period ends on the 30th. Then they will schedule a purse bid. I don't think that Team Hearn or AJ, however you want to look at it, wants this to go to a purse bid in any way, shape, or form. At least that's my thinking. I would think that they certainly would want that to come up with a deal prior to that. So, because face it, they have to present the, unification option between AJ and Deontay Wilder to the WBA, which means that Povetkin has to get some step-aside money. I don't know. Team Povetkin has been very adamant about saying that they're not going to take step-aside money and that they're not going to fight anyone else, that they want their shot. So we'll see what happens with that. I think that the fight has to be made, and I think that there's a very good chance that it'll be made, this week. I'm hoping that it's made this week, because if it's tit for tat and you're saying, oh, well, no, we're not doing this, we're not doing that, oh, we want this, we want that, and they're far apart come Thursday when they meet, then forget about it. Forget about it. It's not going to happen. And then you have to say to yourself, well, why? Was $12.5 million the initial offer that Team AJ gave to Deontay Wilder? Was that an insulting offer? That's neither here nor there. When you look at the statistics for Deontay Wilder and the purses that he's made to this point, 40-0, 39 by knockout. His biggest purse was his last fight against Luis Ortiz, 2.5. So prior to that, he never made $2 million. So to consider that he is offered $10 million more than that, it's not. It can't be a money issue. It's a. I don't want to use greed, even though greed is in it, but it's more like an ego move. Deontay Wilder's team might be saying, hey, you're the champ. He needs you to unify the titles. You're worth a percentage split, whatever. I said, many times before that my idea would be a 45-35 split which would equal 80%, 45 going to AJ, 35 to Deontay, then the winner gets a 20% bonus of the profit. I mean, you can't get more fair than that, and what an incentive. But nonetheless, if the fight isn't made, come Thursday or Friday, if we get an announcement on Friday, then that all will be good. I'm not counting on it. I don't think it's going to happen. I have this feeling that Deontay Wilder really doesn't want the fight, not yet, or his people don't. Let me rephrase it. His people don't want the fight yet, and which makes no sense. Deontay has clearly at least acted very well, like he wants to fight, him personally. If his team doesn't make the fight, and I'm referring to Al Heyman and Shelley Finkel, I don't understand why. Because they can't, in this division, and we've talked about it many, many times, in this division, you can't have a fighter that is going to have a layup every time, because you never know. Even with and I'm talking about heavyweight, any division really, but heavyweight division more so. You could have a guy that was 7-50, and all of a sudden he gets in the ring and he lands a lucky shot on an undefeated guy, and the rest is history. And if you look at that scenario, for Deontay Wilder to take a chance and say, forget about it, we're not going to accept whatever the final offer was, whatever. And then their alternative is to fight, XYZ, a couple of fighters lined up. You're not going to make $10 million. Deontay Wilder's value after Ortiz didn't go from $2 million up to 10. He's not going to get paid by his team, $10 million to fight who? What fight would justify $10 million? The only fight that you could have even made a case for was actually the Luis Ortiz fight. There's no more Luis Ortiz's left. I mean, the Dillian White, but he's going to end up fighting Pulev, from what I understand. Deontay Wilder and his team actually, really, when you think about it, don't have many options. And if they drag their feet, the end result is we're not going to see this fight until next year, if then. Because what's going to start to happen, and it started already with the WBA and Alexander Povetkin, is that the mandatory requirements are going to start popping in. Right now, the WBA is putting pressure on AJ to fight their mandatory. Then the IBF is going to be next in line. And then before you know it, the WBO, who he just won that title from Joseph Parker, that's going to take a front stage. And then don't forget Deontay. Deontay made a defense for the WBC, but then that timetable is up in the fall. So they'll be hassling him for a mandatory. So, these guys, their paths have to cross sooner than later. If they wait, you can make the argument that the marination process of the fight may increase the value, may increase purses, etc., etc. But the risk for that, Anthony Joshua could be knocked out. Deontay Wilder could be knocked out. And then the fight never happens. And I don't know if Alexander Povetkin, let's say Alexander Povetkin knocks out Anthony Joshua, does a Deontay Wilder against Povetkin bring in as much fan excitement as a Wilder AJ fight? Is that fight going to get as much money? Never in a million years. Never in a million years. If Deontay gets knocked out, let's say Deontay loses to Brazil. Let's say that fight happens. Dominic Brazil fights Deontay Wilder, which I think is a really good fight, by the way. And let's say Brazil gets lucky and knocks out Wilder. Does Brazil against AJ bring in as much money as Deontay Wilder? Remember, Brazil already fought AJ. So does that bring in as much money? Listen, they're stupid. The teams are stupid if they don't fight now. They can have the rematch or rematches could make way more than the first fight. The first fight has to get done, and you can set up a trilogy. And here, look at it this way. You're talking about a marination process, right? Well, how about this? How about Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua fight next? That's the next fight. Then, regardless of the outcome, we know that we're going to get a rematch. And then some of the mandatories are going to kick in. And then, you'd get a couple of fights in between, which will build up the rematch. And the rematch will make even more. And assuming that AJ beats Deontay Wilder, the mandatories are all going to be on AJ's shoulders. If Wilder beats Joshua, then all the mandatories are going to be on his shoulders. Let me tell you, they're better off fighting long term for money. If we're talking about money, and that's what makes this sport go around, if we're talking about money, then the most financial rewarding approach would be to fight now and then drag out the rematch. That's my opinion. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I got an email to read. I got some news and notes. We got Dax Kahn scheduled in about 15 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system break down, bust your budget, or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them a system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you! I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. You know, we're talking in the beginning of the show, or I was talking in the beginning of the show. Daniel Jacobs is currently he's fighting this weekend. We actually have some pretty good fights on tap for this weekend. On Saturday specifically, Jesse Magladano is fighting Isaac Dogbo for Magladano's title. On the undercard, we have a heavyweight matchup between Bryant Jennings against Joey Dwejko. And that fight, I mean, I don't know how Joey Dwejko even got, where he is. But I used to love Bryant Jennings, ever since his defeat at the hands of Luis Ortiz. He's been, let's just say, very carefully moved and, etc. So I'm not anticipating him having much trouble in the fight with Dwejko, but whatever. One of my favorite fighters, Josito Lopez, he's going to be fighting this weekend. One of the worst fighters for the sport of boxing, him and his brother, the Durrell brothers, they're fighting. And then on HBO, we have Danny Jacobs going up against Magic Saluki, and that's for an elimination, a WBA elimination fight. And, and then, of course, Baby Miller, he's one of the most overrated fighters in the division today, and I just don't understand why against Johan Duhaupas. But nonetheless, Daniel Jacobs and Saluki are fighting, and my point here is Daniel Jacobs. He's currently ranked in the computer rankings at number 4. He's 31 years old, and I think you can make an argument that he really is the best middleweight out there today. You could argue with me, and if somebody asked me right now, hey, Billy, who's the top middleweight in the world today? I would say, without hesitation, Triple G. But Triple G, he's been locked on Canelo. Canelo has been playing the games. We all know what happened with the performance-enhancing drug situation, et cetera, et cetera. And when you start looking at the rest of the division, the only other name that comes into mix is really, I'm like talking in one word today, that comes into the mix is Billy Joe Saunders. And Billy Joe Saunders, he's fighting, he's got to fight, and yes, that they want to fight, Triple G. I personally think Triple G should just go after Saunders. I don't think he should even waste his time with Canelo, but that's a whole nother story. So the next guy is Daniel Jacobs, and the computer sees him at number 4. I look at his resume, and quite honestly, I wasn't impressed with his climb, all right? I mean, he was very carefully moved. And when he fought Dmitry Pryorov back in 2010, he got knocked out. Then we all know the story. He had cancer. He beat it. He comes back in actually less than a year and several months later, and just got back up on the horse and has looked very good. Giovanni Lorenzo, Milton Nunez, experienced fighters he got wins over. Fletcher, Khalib Truax, Sergio Mora. Mora's a finished guy. Peter Quinlan, that seems like that was a strange fight. Then he fights Triple G, and he loses a 12-round decision. He's dropped in that fight, but after that, he kind of looks good. He looks like he's the better fighter. So I'm very interested in seeing his fight this weekend. Saluki is not a bad opponent. He's actually younger than Daniel Jacobs, and he's also ranked at number 4. The problem is he's ranked in the lower weight class. So Daniel Jacobs is actually fighting a good junior middleweight, a very good undefeated junior middleweight, who doesn't have much pop. I mean, he's 26-0 with 10 knockouts in the junior middleweight division, and he's fought no one comparable to Daniel Jacobs. So we'll see what happens. Just a little sidebar here. Hugo Centeno Jr., who was just annihilated by the monstrous one of the monstrous Charlo brothers, he too was nothing more than a junior middleweight. That's what bothers me about these guys that are constantly fighting smaller opponents. And I know Daniel Jacobs is in a situation where he is trying to position himself for a shot at the middleweight belt. So nonetheless, you could make an argument that Danny Jacobs is actually the best middleweight right now. We'll see. His performance on Saturday, I think, should go well. I'll give you my official breakdowns and predictions later in the week. Yesterday we touched on it a little bit, and Donald Trump, apparently Sylvester Stallone reached out to Donald Trump and told him the story of Jack Johnson, which, that kind of bothered me in itself. Jack Johnson, everybody should know the Jack Johnson story, and especially a guy like Donald Trump, or President Trump, however you want to refer to him, is a guy that was very involved in the sport of boxing in the 80s with Mike Tyson and stuff. You would think that along the way the guy would pick up a little of a historical aspects of the game. But apparently last week, Sylvester Stallone, reached out to President Trump and was telling him about the Jack Johnson story and that he should have been pardoned, et cetera, et cetera. And then Donald Trump, which he rarely does, he sent out a tweet. Which I'm kidding. He tweets more than he breathes. But his tweet said, and I quote, Sylvester Stallone called me with the story of heavyweight boxing champ Jack Johnson. His trials and tribulations were great. His life complex and controversial. Others have looked at this over the years. Most thought it would be done. But yes, I am considering a full pardon of Jack Johnson. Now, Senator John McCain had put out a bill or a petition or whatever to pardon Jack Johnson back several times. But in 2016, it was the 70th anniversary of Jack Johnson's passing. And the president at the time was President Obama. And everyone thought that Barack Obama would pardon him, but he didn't. And just like the presidents previously to Obama, they didn't pardon Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was charged with the Mann Act, violating the Mann Act. The Mann Act was put in place for basically transporting women over state lines for immoral purposes. Its primary goal at the time was to prevent prostitution. And the problem with Jack Johnson being charged with this was that he was transporting a woman who happened to have been white across state lines, who also happened to have been his wife. So, and not only does he get charged, he gets convicted in 1913. At the conviction, it was actually not the wife, but the girlfriend. He had girlfriends and wives, and Jack Johnson was my idol. But the truth of the matter was, the actual conviction was his girlfriend. But still, was certainly not what the Mann Act was intended for. And he was arrested. He went and basically went into exile. Was living outside the United States. Fought James Jeffries in 1910, and then kind of left, and he had won the title theoretically in 1908 in Australia, but most of the world didn't recognize him as the champion until he beat James Jeffries in 1910. Went into exile, fought some defenses outside the country, and a lot of stuff was going on in that time. One thing led to another, specifically the passing of his mom, and he decided to turn himself in. Now, you would think after all of this time that they would cut some kind of deal with Jack Johnson. They made him serve the time. He had to go and serve some time for this. This whole episode of Jack Johnson even being charged, let alone being convicted and being forced to do time, was an outrage. It's an outrage today, and I believe even though we were in Jim Crow America at that time, it was an outrage then. And quite honestly, I don't know why a president has not pardoned him sooner. I wish they would have pardoned him during his lifetime. This was a man that really set the bar and, showed what it's like to just refuse to be treated like a second-class citizen. And I think a lot of the world, especially, as we try to even the playing field with race relations, that Jack Johnson's name should be brought up more often than it is. And I tell you another guy who should be, Joe Louis. Joe Louis fought a lot of exhibition. As a matter of fact, those were the fights that the government went after him for tax evasion. He donated all his purses to the war effort, but at that time, they wanted the military, our United States military was segregated, and they did not want the black soldiers to be able to sit in the same areas as the white soldiers to watch Joe Louis fight. And Joe Louis was like, forget about it. No, you have to let the black soldiers watch my fights that I'm going to give you for nothing, just as equal as the white soldiers can. And to be honest with you, guys like Joe Louis helped the military become more equal, and guys before him, like Jack Johnson, started the world to open their eyes towards equality. And I feel that Jack Johnson easily should have been pardoned, but in any event, I'm biased. Jack Johnson's one of my favorite fighters. As a matter of fact, I got his photo right there in my studio. So anyway, hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I'm scheduled to have Dax Kahn join us. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more. is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking about being with us, joining us right now is my main man, Dax Kahn. Good morning, Dax.
Good morning. How are you today?
Peachy, my man, peachy. The Adrian Broner fight. We didn't get a chance to get your thoughts on that fight from this past weekend. What'd you think, man? I mean, there's so many parts of it to discuss in a way. I mean, it was a good fight. It was an entertaining fight. I mean, just what's your thoughts? What I want to know is what's your thoughts on the fight and then kind of like the aftermath. And when I say aftermath is like, has anything changed with Broner?
No, nothing has changed, unfortunately. If anything, it was for the worst. A draw is an acceptable result, majority draw. I personally had it 116-112 for Vargas because even though a lot of those rounds that were very close and Vargas wasn't doing much, Adrian Broner wasn't doing much either, except he was coming forward, and I don't believe that the judges gave Vargas enough credit for the body work. Of course, that body work that he was getting in there wasn't, the type body work that people expect where it was really hurting Broner, but he was getting in there. I gave Vargas rounds, I think it was 1 through 7. Possibly Broner the 5th. I gave Vargas the 12th. Broner, he didn't learn nothing from Kevin Cunningham, unfortunately. Kevin Cunningham, I heard all the right instructions from him. I heard the right types of motivational speeches in between rounds. Broner just didn't carry him out. Round 12, prior to Broner coming out, Kevin Cunningham's telling him, I need you to go out there and act like you need a knockout win. And Broner goes out there as if it's just going to happen. The jab bothered Adrian Broner, very much like we seen with Paulie Malignaggi. If Paulie Malignaggi had a little bit more power, even Jesse Vargas power, I think Paulie Malignaggi would have won that fight. But, Jesse Vargas, when he used the jab, Adrian Broner had no answers. I think the biggest mistake on this here was Jesse Vargas himself might have underestimated Adrian Broner's chin and his ability to take a punch to the body. You can see how he tired himself out and he slowed down later on. What I did like is that when Mike McCallum gave him instructions, Jesse Vargas carried out the instructions. When Mike McCallum would say, okay, now time to go back to the jab, Jesse Vargas would go back to the jab. So, Broner, he's always had a great chin. He's a short, stocky guy. He puts on good fights when he goes out there and he lets his hands go. But, again, he doesn't listen to his corner. He has that horrible attitude that's really just going to bring him down quickly. Well, we've seen him just falling quickly, but, it's going to be sooner than later. Broner is doing more or less that self-promotion ploy of, I don't care if fans watch me to win or they watch me to lose, so long as they watch me, which is great. But you know what? You have to be winning for that aspect. Fans will watch somebody who's winning, whether or not to see them win or hopefully they see them lose, but you have to be winning. Once you start racking up these losses and become mediocre, they're going to move on to somebody else. The 140-pound division is really stacked right now with a lot of young upcoming guys who can conduct themselves properly. Same thing with 147 pounds. So Adrian Broner, if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's more or less going to be that guy that gets pushed aside because the act is getting old and people aren't going to like, seeing the nonsense anymore. As for the post-fight, I was disappointed that Jesse Vargas allowed Adrian Broner to drag him into that nonsense. Jesse Vargas is better than that, but, Adrian Broner does have a way of getting underneath people's skin. So I think Jesse Vargas, where he goes from here, I don't know. I think maybe if he can make 140 pounds, which he will, is a former world champion, and he can make some noise, he'd be, very competitive, his mediocre power at best. Along with his skill set, could make him one of the top guys. As for Adrian Broner right now, really, to be honest with you, he's 1 or 2 fights away from being just another cliche.
First I want to address the post-fight WWE thing. I'm not blaming Jesse for anything on that. And to be honest with you, you know who you blame? Showtime. Because Jesse Vargas and Adrian Broner kind of, if you go back and watch the fight, as soon as the fight's over and, they kind of, did a haphazardly embracing of each other, they kind of whispered into each other's ears, like, okay, this is what's going to happen. And then Jim Gray, who's the worst, no, Ronaldo's the worst, but Jim Gray I just never liked because of what he did to Pete Rose. But anyway, he kind of let them. They kind of let them go back and forth, and it's almost like that's their way of, the possibility of building up a rematch or whatever. And I've noticed it more often than not with Showtime, letting that kind of tactic happen. As far as Adrian Broner, the value he brings, Dax, and I agree with everything you said about the nuts and bolts of Cunningham, pleading with him to throw more punches. It doesn't matter who's in the corner. He does what he wants, it seems. But, I think Adrian Broner has a spot in boxing. He's got a good chin. He goes rounds, and he's beatable. I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing him in there with bigger names as an opponent. He has hand speed, and he was in shape. He didn't seem to tire. He was in the better shape of the two between him and Vargas. And if he did let his hands go, he would be a better fighter. He would win on scorecards. The fight was close. It was a close fight because Adrian Broner is extremely accurate, and Vargas threw a lot of punches, but it wasn't so much accurate. I don't know. I could see him being, fighting a Spence, a Thurman, as an opponent. I really can. And he makes some money doing it.
Yeah. If that's the route you want to go, do you want to go on and be an opponent for these guys?
Yeah, but what's his other option? He doesn't really have many options. Like
his other option is, change your attitude, buckle down, do what you're supposed to do, and get back on track to where you once were. That's your other option.
Yeah, but can a guy like him actually buckle down and change his attitude? I mean, listen, we saw firsthand Adrian Broner, Jekyll and Hyde, on Saturday night when he first yanked the mic out of the hands of Jim Gray. He was talking smack. I won it. I beat your ass, blah, 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 blah. And he gets in Jesse Vargas' face. Then Gray gets the mic back. We see Adrian Broner pacing around in the back. He talks to Vargas a little bit. Then he hands the mic back to Adrian Broner, and Adrian Broner acts like it was the first time he had the mic. He says, first thing I want to do is I want to thank God. I want to do it. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. Is there a twin? Does he have a twin? What happened to the guy that was just there? So, we do have a guy that might have some mental issues or forgets the role he's playing. I don't know, but I witnessed those things on Saturday, and I just couldn't help but think this was all a big act from everybody.
He's still young, and I agree with that. Showtime shouldn't allow that. At any point in time, they can cut off to something else. They can go to a promo for an upcoming fight. They can go back to the locker rooms and show the two fighters getting ready to come out. They can do a million other things. But, unfortunately, that's today's generation. They kind of like that drama. But as for Adrian Broner, he's still young. I think when I watched him go off on Leonard Ellerbe, at first I thought, I was like, wow, these are the guys that have been there for you for so long, more or less kind of helped you rise to this level in terms of popularity and promotional wise. But on the other side, I was sitting there saying to myself, maybe Adrian Broner in a way is kind of looking and saying, realizing, what, I'm just being used more or less as a these guys are never going to really give me the chance to shine, and he's frustrated, and you have a lot of yes men in your ear. I really don't know, what goes through his head between the social media, the mock suicide attempts. Obviously he has trouble, and we've seen that not with just Adrian Broner. We've seen that with a lot of fighters over the years. But, Kevin Cunningham, I thought that was going to be great. Kevin Cunningham, a no-nonsense guy, a former police officer, a guy who's going to sit there, and tell you all the right things to do. If Adrian Broner would just change that attitude, he's so appealing. Floyd Mayweather, the things about this modern day era, people didn't appreciate his defensive style, and he was a defensive master. So he created that Money Mayweather persona. People who think that Floyd Mayweather is really like that 24/7, it's not true. There's a Floyd Mayweather for the cameras. There's a Floyd Mayweather when not for the cameras. And, and that's how Floyd Mayweather was able to make sure he kept drawing in the fans. And you know what? They're tuning in to whether or not they want to see me win or they want to see me lose, as long as they keep tuning in. And Adrian Broner, more or less, is trying to follow that, but he's going about it in the wrong way. But, the key factor is you have to keep on winning, because if you're not keeping on winning, they're just going on to the next stage of guys that are winning. And in this era, if anything has become most important, it doesn't matter, who the fighter is, that O. Fans covet that O more than anything. Now, if you have that O and you're able to talk like that, then you're a mega star. But you have to have that O, and you can't be an opponent, because eventually you're just going to keep on trickling down that list, and people just don't want you no more. And then the networks don't want to deal with you, and then you burn all the bridges, whether it be promoters, whether it's trainers, whether it's friends. What do you have then? You have nothing.
Yeah, the O is only real valuable here in the States. I mean, yes, everyone wants an O, but the outside the U.S., other fights seem to happen with.
But he's not outside the U.S.
No. I know.
Right.
I know. Now, the other fight I wanted to ask you about, I was impressed with Gervonta Davis. I thought Gervonta Davis showed us everything that we want to see from this guy. He's extremely fast. He's exciting to watch. If he can keep his head set straight and he doesn't become another Adrian Broner, I think this guy could do special things inside the ring. What was your thoughts?
Exactly. I believe I spoke about that maybe on Friday. So I'm not really a big fan of Gervonta Davis because of his actions of where, it seemed like a lot of times he's trying to mimic Adrian Broner. But, Friday at his final press, or Thursday at the final pressers, we spoke about Friday, he admitted that he needed attitude changes. He admitted that he didn't focus and he should never lost his title on the scales. Again, he's a young kid. A lot of yes men, a lot of people filling his ear talking about greatness, greatness, greatness. When you're young and you're making that money, you start to believe these things. But, his post-fight attitude, he was humble. You could definitely see the influence of Kevin Cunningham. He was probably in the best physical condition I've ever seen him in. Even though the fight only lasted 3 rounds, you can just tell by the shape. You can tell by the focus. He was sharp. He was accurate. Cuellar is no slouch. He did come in off a long layoff, from a lower division, but he came right at Gervonta Davis. You would think that maybe Gervonta Davis would have been rattled a little bit, but Davis remained totally composed. He looked for those openings. He was sharp. He was accurate. Those punches were hard. And so, Gervonta Davis, I really like this version of Gervonta Davis. And if it can remain this version of Gervonta Davis with the attitude, with the work rate, coming in there and the way he performed, he's a guy that I really do believe can be, a star. Not yet. Despite what a lot of fans, fans in this sport have this problem with jumping on bandwagons. No, he's not ready for a Vasyl Lomachenko yet. But, if Vasyl Lomachenko, who's going to face Jorge Linares at 135 pounds, decides to stay at 135 pounds, this version of Gervonta Davis, I believe, can be the next king at super featherweight. I like this version of him, and I just hope to see more of it.
Yeah, I agree. And the Charlo brothers, these guys, they come in shape. They look good when they fight. People criticize me for criticizing them. The reason why I criticize them is, I feel like when I put my boxing purist or boxing fan hat on, Dax, I feel that when we're constantly seeing a fighter look as fantastic as Charlo did on Saturday, and his brother does as well, I just want to see them look just as fantastic against an evenly matched opponent. I mean, yeah, he looked great against Centeno Jr., but Centeno Jr. was a junior middleweight moving up. He clearly looked way bigger. Height-wise, no. But body-wise, I just... And then he says, everybody's ducking me, everybody... And it seems like Al Heyman fighters, that's their MO. That's what they're instructed to say as soon as the mic gets in front of their face. Everybody's ducking me. No one wants to fight me. Who's ever ducked a Charlo brother? I've never seen them go after a top guy that's the same size or even in the legitimate same weight class. He was referring to Triple G as ducking him. I can't see it. What was your thoughts of the performance? Are these guys getting better?
Just as expected, as you stated Friday, those absurd Las Vegas odds in favor of Charlo. Just to what you said, how good is somebody? How good is a fighter? We don't know how good a fighter is when they're walking through and they're knocking guys out until they have a little bit of adversity, until they really get hit, until they get buzzed. We'll use Triple G for example. People never really knew how good is he. He's getting all these guys that are in there that are rolling over, they're laying down on him, and then then all of a sudden you start realizing, this guy can really take a punch. And then, you start seeing some of the other things, he can do in there. Then all of a sudden, it puts into like a new perspective. We don't know how a Charlo is going to act. What if they get knocked down? What if they get hurt? What if they're on the back foot? We haven't seen that. That's what really tells you how good a fighter is. Everybody is great when they're coming forward and they're overpowering. The big talk right now among fans and social media, and even some media members and promoters, just when they do, as you say, putting their fan hat on, is one of the Charlos against Jarrett Hurd, another really big 154-pound fighter who applies a lot of pressure, who can take a good punch. Why hasn't that fight been made? That would be a great fight, both the same size, around the same age. So you kind of question why aren't they making a fight like that? Is that kind of saying that more or less with all these PBC fighters, it seems that they're not matching them up against each other, because if they do, that means one of these guys are going to take a loss, and that means one less guy in this era in the United States, as you so well pointed out before, where that O is so important. If one of these guys lose their O, all of a sudden their marketability drops levels, and now all of a sudden we have to actually work to do some PR and market this guy, and we don't want to do that. So let's just keep that O, and as long as that O is there, he's easy to sell. And in my opinion, that's why those fights aren't being made amongst each other. Unfortunately, Dana White not too long ago talking, the news was he might enter the boxing business. In the UFC, that's the difference. There are no easy fights, there are no layup fights, and that should be the same thing in boxing. It's a reason why, like the tournament, the World Boxing Super Series is so exciting, and it's been so successful. Why? Because either you're fighting the best guy in there or you're not fighting at all, and that's the way it should be. So the PBC, in a way, it's kind of got its own league, except it's its league that, is carefully choosing their opponents.
Hey, before we... I have one other question on that, and then something else before we let you go. But I want to thank my man Johnston. Just gave us a super chat. He says UK boxing stadium bouts: Billy Joe Saunders against Triple G, DeGale against Groves. He's saying that at Merte's stadium, 60,000 fans, or even Smith Anfield, Brooke Kahn, Bramall, Lane, and Wilder AJ are all big fights. You see, that's the difference, and thanks for the super chat, Johnson. He's our man. He's hooking us up. But the thing is, Dax, that these stadiums, and I love listening to a fan of specifically Al Heyman fighters. They all seem to say the same. When you become a fan of an Al Heyman fighter, you must get like a list of things that you say in defense of your fighter all the time. And what I always hear from these guys, I'll
thank you, Al Heyman.
Well, no, not that. But listen, and you're going to laugh because you got a guy like AJ. He goes, he sells out 90,000 seats. And a Wilder fan / Heyman fighter would say, yeah, but they only sell those tickets for $2 a piece. They never give any credit to 90,000 fannies in the seats. I mean, that's the big difference here. You know, I mean, we just don't get people that will go out. But
they just don't want to give any credit to anything outside that circle.
No. Hey, listen, one last question on the fights, and then I got something else I wanted to ask you real quick. But in the Charlo fight, Centeno was knocked out. And I was talking about this yesterday. This really bothered me, especially in the state of New York. Centeno was knocked out. His head is barely on the ring apron, okay? It's kind of like off the ring apron. His body is through the ropes. He's laying flat on his back. He's not moving. He's clearly knocked out. And that clown of a referee that the networks love because he makes all those stupid faces and dancing around, and he's terrible, Stephen Willis. He's counting over this knocked out cold guy, Dax, until he got to 10. What happened to safety first? Did he really have to count to 10, or was he just trying to get more airtime? That's what it seemed to me, because this was a fight. There's certain knockouts or knockdowns or whatever that a referee doesn't have to count. It's over. When a guy is laying flat on his back, half his body is inside the ropes and the other half is outside the ropes, the fight's over, Dax. He wasn't even trying to get up. What was your thoughts on that move from him?
You know, you're not the only one who thinks that. You know, I thought that. A lot of people thought that. You know, so why even bothering counting? You know, he's a decent referee. He's not a great referee. He's a decent referee. But yes, certain types of fans like him because of his in-ring. When he makes mistakes like this, it's absurd.
Yeah, Dax, you're breaking up really bad. Like all of a sudden your picture is bad and everything else. But yeah, I got what you were saying. You were saying that you thought that he does a good job. I really don't see him. Yeah,
he's a decent ref, but you know he's not a great ref.
I don't think he's. I think decent. Okay, I'll give him that. I don't think he's a good ref. I think that Charlie Fitch is way better. I think Harvey Dock is way better. You know, there's a lot of referees out there that are way better. Ron Lipton. There's a lot of referees out there that are 10 times better than this guy who keeps getting the assignments because the announcers like him. You see, these fights that are on television, they're trying to create an atmosphere for the audience, and this guy makes face. You see, they shouldn't be rewarded because they're camera friendly. They should be rewarded because they do a good job as the third man in the ring. I don't want to remember who the ref was because it doesn't matter to me who the ref was. I remember who the ref was in that fight because I felt that there was no reason for him to count from 1 to 10. I assume that the guy knows how to count to 10. You know, so I don't know. Listen, one more question for you. On this whole discussion between the world and pardoning of Jack Johnson, Donald Trump apparently has tweeted, I know that's a rarity for him, but he's tweeted that after his conversation with Sylvester Stallone, that he's considering a full pardon for Jack Johnson, something that I felt should have been done a long time ago. Do you have any thoughts on this or what?
You know, listen, it was a different time. It was a different era. It was a different mindset. You know, that law really was one of those type of laws where, you know what, you know, Bill's crossing, you know, the state line with somebody, I pull him over, and because I have nothing else to get him on, I'm going to say, you know what, you didn't put your blinker on, so to speak, that, you know, that type of thing. And so with that on there is more or less, you know, the proof of the burden of, you're bringing her over line for, you know, to do things that, you know, inappropriate things that don't meet the criteria. Now, you know, you're violating the Mann Act. And, you know, so it was really an absurd law, despite what it was created for, you know, to, you know, limit or, you know, at best limit prostitution. It was one of those things that, you know, at any point in time you can use that. But, you know, Jack Johnson years ago, that should have been pardoned, should have been put away. You know, nowadays, when you look on the book, think about some of the laws that are on the books. I won't go into detail. I invite people out there to go do their own, their own investigations. There are some states, literally, that, and there's certain states that it's okay, still today, to beat your wife on a Sunday if you use a belt no thicker than 2 inches, but it can't be any thinner than 1 inch. And this is a law that can get away with that. It's still on the books. So this thing with Jack Johnson, was absurd. Years ago, it should have been, you brought up a valid point with Joe Louis, a guy where, how could you have done that to somebody who was donating his purses to the military, and then you're taxing him on top of that and was already given that money back to, it was a different time, it was a different era, and I don't think that any president, especially Donald Trump, should try and use this as some sort of heroic action. This is one of those things that should be done quietly and just released. It's not something that should even be made like multimedia, so that disappoints me. They're using this as like, a selling point, an angle to make themselves look good. Just pardon the man, let somebody else put that out there. It should have been done long ago.
Dax, I appreciate your input, and we'll look forward to you later in the week with the breakdowns and predictions. There's a lot of good fights scheduled for this weekend.
Yeah, there is a lot of good fights. One thing, we do got to give a shout out, to a couple of our fans and the guys up at the Genesee Brewery, Bill. We've been very active on Matthew Quinn and the workers up at the Genesee Brewery have been very interactive with us on our Twitter account. The other day they were talking to me and telling me about this picture that hangs of Carmen Basilio still hanging up at the Genesee Brewery from back when he used to work there full-time while resuming his boxing career. Last week we were speaking about those bring your lunch pail to work type fighters. He was truly one of the first bring your lunch pail to work type fighters, because that was the guy who worked not only in the onion fields, but he would work in that brewery full-time while he was training after work during his lunch hour, to go in there against these big fights and become a Hall of Famer and all-time great. I didn't even know he worked at the Genesee Brewery, so thank them for that little bit of a history and the fact that that's still up there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Dax, we got to take a break. We'll talk to you later, my man.
All right, everybody, have a good day.
That's Dax Kahn. We got to take a short break. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604. Listen.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you! I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. I want to thank everybody that takes care of us with the super chats. It goes a long way. And as we've been saying for a while, you know, our primary focus, our show is in its 15th year, and our primary focus has always been radio and then television. We did start out on the internet, so we are happy and proud to be on both television and radio currently. But we also love our internet presence, and with the internet comes our YouTube presence. And our YouTube presence, although we've been putting our shows up on YouTube for quite some time, we really didn't pay much attention to YouTube. That's all changed as 2018 has kicked off, and we're actually focusing on a lot of stuff that's going on in YouTube. And one of the things is the Super Chat, and we really appreciate it. As a matter of fact, we are going to have a show. I thought it was going to be today, but it worked out that it wasn't. But we are going to have a show later this week that we're hoping that all of you that visit us in the chat room on YouTube can hook us up with a super chat, because we're trying to raise some funds for the show, and that would be a great opportunity and get your point across. So we're going to open up the super chats. It looks like Thursday. We'll be doing that. So mark that one down. And by the way, if you are a YouTube viewer, do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. We're trying to beef up our subscriptions. But in any event, Errol Spence Jr., undefeated IBF World Welterweight Champion. Many regard him as the best welterweight in the world today. Made it official over the weekend. He's fighting on June 16th in his home state of Dallas, and he will be taking on the undefeated Carlos Ocampo, who's 22-0 with 13 knockouts. We all want to see him fight Keith Thurman, but Keith Thurman is, comes up with more excuses than a third grader with not bringing their homework in. But maybe third grade's a little too young. I don't know. We got an email that I should read right now to get it out of the way. This is from my man Sean, and Sean says, "Hey Billy C, this is Sean from New Jersey." Hey Sean from New Jersey. He says, it was a great fight Saturday night once Broner let his hands go in the middle rounds. My question is, why doesn't he let his hands go more often? His speed and accuracy are his strengths, and if it was used right, he could be tough to beat. To me, Billy C, he reminds me of Zab Judah, a fighter with incredible talent but couldn't put it all together on fight night, which is frustrating if you're a fan. Other than Broner's classless behavior after the fight, do you think he did enough in the fight to garner another big fight and regain the trust in his fans that he has dedicated himself to the sport? I think that Adrian Broner, and I was kind of alluding to this when Dax was just on. I think that Adrian Broner has accepted the villain role. I think that he is happy being the bad guy. We saw a tale of two Adrian Broners in the ring post-fight. This was a guy that was rambling on and on and on, and then he gets the microphone the second time, and it's like another guy popped in, and he's like, "I want to thank God for," like he never even was in front of the mic originally. So I think he's happy with the villain role, and I think that he's gonna be a villain no matter what. With that said, I'm one of these guys that always thought that he possessed a lot of talent. As a lightweight, I loved him. I thought this guy was going to be an all-time great. Unfortunately, he went down the wrong path. What happens with these guys that latch on to Floyd Mayweather is that they miss. I guess the best way to describe it is they misunderstand Floyd. And what I mean by that is Floyd plays the villain too. And Floyd does get in trouble outside the ring, specific things, but for the most part, he doesn't go over the edge. He pushes the envelope enough to get a little press, with the exception of, beating the hell out of his girlfriend in front of the kids with bodyguards preventing them from leaving, and the fact that he did some time in a, community jail, which he likes to refer to as prison. Aside from that, he's stayed one step ahead, it seems. And he never let drugs or alcohol interfere. He never, he did have that ice skating rink episode, but for the most part, he hasn't done anything to get, other press that would bring the law on him as much as Adrian Broner did. So being a bad guy doesn't mean that you have to go fondle women or get into fights, etc., etc. The problem with Adrian Broner is I believe that when he moved up from lightweight, that he got a little lazy and he ballooned up a little bit and then decided to campaign in bigger weight classes because it didn't take as much effort. Then he's not really an old guy, like Dax just said. I mean, he's still in his prime. And, maybe junior welterweight would be a better division for him. Maybe he is in the right division at welterweight. This was a catchweight that he fought at 144, so I would assume that he can make 140. At 140, Adrian Broner's a dangerous fighter. The problem that he has is that he doesn't let his hands go. And he didn't let his hands go for Kevin Cunningham, and he didn't let his hands go for every other trainer that he's ever worked with. So this is an ongoing issue with him. It's a habit. It's a habit that he developed, just like Leo Santa Cruz with that habit where he's shaking his glove all the time. Can he break it? I don't know. I don't know what it would take to have him go in. Listen, his accuracy is there, and I agree with my man Sean that he is tough to beat, and he's going to give you a tough fight. And if you're able to stand in the pocket with him and exchange, you can coax him into exchanging back. Vargas wasn't fast enough. Vargas threw punches, but they weren't hard enough. They weren't getting the attention of Broner. So in Vargas, you had a busy fighter who was game, who was willing to stand in the pocket, but didn't have the overall skill set to really force Adrian Broner. Now, and that's the right word, force, because for some reason, if you don't force Adrian Broner, he's content trying to pick shot you one or two shots here and there. So if Vargas had a little more pop behind his punches, and another thing, like also Dax said earlier, if the judges were scoring more for the body work that Jesse Vargas invested in, maybe the outcome would have been different. But I think what you need to be successful against Adrian Broner is you need the willingness to stand in the pocket. You need a tight defense because Adrian Broner can deliver and land punches. He's very accurate. And you got to have some pop. You got to have some pop to fight Adrian Broner. Now, as far as Adrian, and that, if you have some pop and you're willing to stand in the pocket and you have a decent defense where you can slip some punches, you'll bring out a higher volume version of Adrian Broner than he does on his own. If you're content with doing what Jesse Vargas was doing in the latter part of the fight on Saturday night, you're going to get the same version of Adrian Broner that we saw. And the pleading and the begging and the rah-rah crap that you hear in the corner isn't going to help him. It's not. It's just not. Thanks for the email, Sean. Appreciate the interaction. One other thing I wanted to talk about today was there was a fight that took place between Deontay Wilder and Alexander Povetkin. Oh, wait a minute. The fight never took place. Oh, that's right. What I meant was the fight that took place outside of the ring. If you remember back in 2016, Deontay Wilder was scheduled to fight Alexander Povetkin. I don't know if he actually went to Russia or what, but then it came out that Povetkin tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, and Deontay Wilder pulled the old, Puma move, exit stage left, and ran back to the U.S. And subsequently, as we found out, Alexander Povetkin ended up not testing positive. And this resulted in a couple of lawsuits. Number one, Team Wilder sued Team Povetkin, and then Team Povetkin turned around and sued Team Wilder. Now, Team Wilder's lawsuit against Team Povetkin actually won the initial suit back in 2017, and they were awarded $5 million. The other day, it was reported that Povetkin's team won a $4.3 million victory over Team Wilder. So, in a sense, Deontay Wilder has lost almost $1 million, $700,000, that most likely went to his training and expenses, et cetera, et cetera. Now, keep in mind that Team Povetkin had also put in a counter lawsuit for $34.5 million U.S. for defamation of character, for not only defamation of character for Povetkin, but also for his promoter, Rabinsky, the Russian promoter that we've talked about. So we'll see what happens with this. Each fighter so far winning outside the ring court battle. Povetkin's team won a $4.3 million suit, and Wilder won a $5 million suit. We have a difference in suits of $700,000. So I'm not sure what all of this means, but what I hope it means is that Deontay Wilder and his team realize that they need some money, and they better sign the fight with Anthony Joshua ASAP. Personally, I don't think that fight's going to take place. I don't think that unless that they've been negotiating behind closed doors the way they should, and they're going to make this announcement Thursday that the fight is signed, sealed, and delivered, that would be a pleasant surprise that we would all be talking about from now until the bell rings about that fight, the significance of the fight, the importance of the fight, etc., etc., etc. If the announcement is not made by the end of this week, you're going to see a huge and quick shift in focus between Team AJ and Team Povetkin to try and get a deal done prior to the bid process, the purse bid process. Their open negotiation period, from what I understand, ends next week. Our trivia question. Yeah, the trivia question, see? Our trivia question is a tough one, and I want to thank everybody who tried to get it correct. It's a tough one, and you know what? Occasionally we will mix in a what I would call an easy one, one that you could find out answers. But these last couple have been pretty tough. So if you're the first one to get this one correct, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game, the same game that Alex Perpali uses when we do our Blast from the Past simulations. And tomorrow our Blast from the Past is, as per request, on Boxing Hall of Famer Memphis Pal Moore. Here's the question. And you have to email it, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. It's the only way we're going to take the answer, and because we can timestamp them. Now, I gave you some hints yesterday, and I guess I'm going to have to give you more. The question is this. Before my 20th birthday, I beat 4 world champions and lost to another one who I also defeated just 1 month past my 20th birthday. Who am I? Before my 20th birthday, I beat 4 world champions and lost to another one who I also defeated just 1 month past my 20th birthday. Who am I? So if you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. We have that question, and the beauty of it is that I'm going to give you some answers, some hints, I should say. Here's the let me read the question and I'll give you the hints. Before my 20th birthday, I beat 4 world champions and lost to another one, who I also defeated just 1 month past my 20th birthday. Who am I? Here's the hints I've already given you. He's very well known. He fought in multiple divisions. He fought for the world heavyweight title. I'm going to give you one more hint today. Not only did he fight for the world heavyweight title, but he fought against a very dominating heavyweight champion and came up short. A very dominating heavyweight champion, and he came up short. So I have to document that because I just did that on the fly. All right, so here's the hint. I'm going to give you the question one more time with all the hints. And if you're the first one to email me, Billy at talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you will win the prize. Before my 20th birthday, I beat 4 world champions and lost to another one, who I also defeated just 1 month past my 20th birthday. Who am I? The hints are he was extremely well known. He fought in multiple divisions. He fought for the heavyweight world title. And the guy he fought for the heavyweight world title was a very dominating champion. And this guy came up short against this guy. If you're the first one to email me, Billy at talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win the prize. So make sure you do that. On this day in boxing history, April 24th, in 2004, Vitaly Klitschko knocks out Corey Sanders in the 8th round to win the WBC and the vacant world heavyweight titles. That took place in Los Angeles, California. On this day in 1999, Keith Holmes knocks out Hussein Sharifi in the 7th round to regain the WBC world middleweight title. Took place in Washington. On this day in 1916, Jack Britton wins a 20-round decision over Ted Kid Lewis to win the world welterweight title, and that took place in New Orleans. On this day in 1931, Tony Canzonori knocks out Jack Kid Berg in the 3rd round to win the world junior welterweight title, and that took place in Chicago. On this day in 1998, Manuel Medina wins a 12-round decision over Hector Lizarraga to regain the IBF world featherweight title, and that took place in Jose, California. On this day. And on this day in 1999, Mark Johnson wins a 12-round decision over Radinachi Vorapin to win the vacant IBF World Junior Bantamweight title, and that took place in Washington, D.C. on this day in 1999. Hey, boys and girls, that concludes our show for today. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.